Pilates Body Transformation. Megan is going to help me in teaching you how to transform your bodies in 30 sessions. Today we will be going through a pre-Pilates class. Make sure that you understand what I'm discussing before moving on to basic. The first question is, do you have any injuries? If you have any injuries, please consult your doctor before starting work. Knee injuries, shoulder injuries, physiotherapists and doctors need to give you the go-ahead to start working with your body in Pilates. If you have a knee injury or any injury and you're feeling a little bit weak, you would take yourself down to the mat, however you can safely get yourself down to the mat. If, however, you are in good condition with no issues, we are going to take ourselves down to the mat classically. Start standing in the front of your mat. Take your arms up into the genie position. Cross your ankles one over the other, centering yourself in the middle of the mat. And with control, take yourself down to the mat, tucking your tailbone underneath as you approach the mat. Uncross your feet, putting them flat on the floor. Put your hands next to your sides. Lift your bottom up. Straighten your knees to lie yourself down onto your mat. Okay. So, in Pilates, we have a couple of positions for the feet. Pilates stance means that our heels are together and yet our toes are apart. And we want to get them at approximately 10 to 2 on a clock face. So, it's not a ballerina turnout all the way. So, Pilates stance means 10 to 2. Now, the next thing we need to consider in Pilates is, I'll cue a lot, is Trinity, meaning 3. We need to keep our heels connected towards each other, even though the toes are apart, because we've slid our sitting bones together. So you're going to squeeze your sitting bones together without tensing up the bottom. If you tend to tense up the bottom, make sure tense at the bottom, yes, then she comes right off the mat. So you want to slide your heels together. The next thing you want to consider is zipped up inner thighs, the second part of Trinity, and then a lift through the pelvic floor, pulling, there's your 3 parts of Trinity. Anytime you're working in Trinity or with your legs together, the amount of strength that you get and gain from Trinity is important. Trinity is exhausting, but it's also your friend. You're going to relax a little, maybe, I'm sure you're exhausted already. The next thing we want to look at is scoop. Scoop means that we pull the belly button down onto our spine and we roll it up and underneath the rib cage. So we're flattening our belly onto the mat. Relax, Maggie. So another way to think about it is just above the pubic bone here, you want to drop an ice cream spoon in and roll along to come out the other side of your ice cream container. That would be your scoop. And what happens in scoop is that her back, you put this arm up, her back rests naturally, relax, her back rests naturally onto the mat as she scoops. So pull your belly button in and see how her back flattens onto the mat here, protecting her. And release yourself again down. Okay, hands down to your sides. Your rib to hip connection is the space between your rib and your hip that needs to remain connected. Okay, so what tends to happen is that as you take your arms overhead like this, the rib cage flares out and you lose that distance between rib and hip. So bring your arms back up again. You want to maintain rib to hip connection on both sides, and as you take your arms overhead, there is absolutely no movement between the rib and the hip. Okay, so you can practice that a few times, shoulders into your back, control between the rib and the hip, and take the arms overhead without there being any movement through that. Let's just do 2 more like that. Over, 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 over. Draw it up. And last one. Feeling that you are supporting the arms all the way from the stomach. The arms come up and down. They're floating all by themselves. Then we have a smile in the collarbone. So the collarbone here needs to remain broad across the front. Now the tendency here is as you smile through the collarbones, the rib cage opens out. So you need to be able to maintain the smile in the collarbone while you keep your rib to hip connection on. So for some people that will become a little bit of a battle as they try and work out how to get the arms up without throwing the ribs, and how to maintain the smile in the collarbone. And that is just something you'll have to work on it yourself until you improve. The pixie ears mean that we grow the back of our ears tall and long like a pixie, dropping our chin towards our chest, and release. I might also cue it as lengthening the back of the throat, growing, drop, and grow your pixie ears, grow your pixie ears, grow your pixie ears. Good. Oh, the last thing I want to talk about is the teepees. Very often, particularly if your shoulders and your back is rounded, you're going to grow a little teepee here underneath the wrist. So you can imagine all the ants are having a party. And so we want to make sure that there is no teepees in the wrists. So you push your teepee down, then the tendency would be for the shoulders to come off, and you're just going to have to make that battle happen between that. You can also turn the palms sideways if it helps you to maintain your wrist on the mat. And relax. Okay, some pre-Pilates exercises. The first thing we want to do is to bend the knees, drawing the feet along the mat, and making sure that your lower back is connected to your mat. In the first few sessions, when you don't know very much, we need to work with our feet on the floor or our back imprinted to protect ourselves. So we're going to draw one leg up to tabletop. Tabletop is a sort of 90-degree angle here where I can make sure that my T doesn't slide down and hit me in the face. Okay, so you want to have a 90-degree angle there. And we're going to just work on learning how to control the stomach. So put your hands onto your stomach. Imagine that you have put a little box underneath here, a little treasure box, and you want to keep that box there as you take it down to the mat. Good. And then float it up using the lower belly. So let's just do 6 of those, taking it down to the mat and lifting it up. Now what you're trying to achieve here is you're trying to get it down to the mat and up again using the lower belly. Can you feel that, Megs? So you're not using the thigh. You're doing your very best to make sure that that thigh is staying relaxed. Yeah. I think it's 2 more. And up. And last one. And up. And then place it down on the mat and let's swap legs. So you're going to engage your lower belly, and then you're going to use the lower belly to pull the leg in and release it back down to your mat. And pull the leg in and release it back down to your mat. Keep going. Try to relax the thigh. And last one makes it 6. And rest yourself down onto your mat. Good. Now, the other version of that is bring one leg up to tabletop. Now hold behind that leg just to support it and draw the other leg up to tabletop, sucking the stomach down onto the mat as you do that. Okay, so now we're going to keep the one leg off the mat, whereas it was down before, and we're going to lower, let's start again, lowering one leg only, and bring it up. So that would be a slightly more challenging version of the previous exercise. As you take that leg down to the mat, your belly button doesn't pop out. So keep that belly button onto your spine and rolled up underneath your ribs. And you're just learning how to straighten it out. And swapping onto the other side, making sure that that belly button is down as you pull the leg up using the stomach. And again, 6 to each side on these exercises is enough. And rest. One leg down, the other leg down, and rest. So it goes down, bend knees, one leg down, then the other leg down. Okay, let's look at the protraction and retraction in the shoulders. Arms come up to the ceiling. You want to turn the palms towards each other, and then you're going to just reach up to the ceiling, protracting, and then pull it back down again. Now what wants to happen here is that as you are pulling it back down again, the ribs want to open out. So as you draw it back down again, make sure that you have a connection into the rib. And you might want to think about smiling in the collarbone as you bring it back down again, holding your rib to hip connection. Again, 6 of these or more if you need it. And remember to take, when you go up, you don't want to climb up into the shoulders, you want to keep the shoulders down your back. Last one. And then place your hands down by your side. Good. Now, you also want to make sure that your shoulder blades stay connected to the mat. And again, that rib to hip connection can become troublesome here, in that when you try and open your shoulders up, the nipples are going to want to bounce forward. So maintaining a rib to hip connection here, we're going to shrug the shoulders up towards the ears and then take them back down again. Now, you're going to imagine that there's a little ball underneath here, and you want to keep the tension as you squash the ball. If this is impossible for you, if there is a problem with your shoulders and you're rounded in the back, you are going to turn the hands so that the palms are facing the body and the baby finger stays down. And you're just going to do your pre-pilates as often as you can until this all becomes basic for you. Rest. The next one we want to look at is the strengthening at the back of the throat. To do this one, we're going to lengthen the back of the throat as we discussed, growing the pixie ears. Make sure that the head doesn't come off the mat. Okay? Tendency as you lengthen that head, the back of the throat, is to lift the head off. I want you to put the tongue to the top of the palate. Good. And then I want you to imagine that you nod your chin enough for me to slip a 100 rand note under your head. And just there, hold it, hold it, hold it. Now, if your head is not shaking, count to 10 maybe. If your head is not shaking while you're doing this, you've probably come up too much. Probably enough. And rest. Okay, so those are the deep neck stabilizers that will assist you in strengthening up your neck for some of the exercises that are coming. We're going to do that one more time. Lengthen the back of the throat, growing the pixie ears. Put the tongue onto the top of the throat and come up only a millimeter. So you're essentially leaving your hair on the mat. That's a good one, Maggie. Now, the way she's bouncing is exactly what I want to see. You need to bounce in this exercise, and I know that the deep neck stabilizers are working. And rest down after about 10 seconds. Okay, we're going to work a little bit in strengthening up that rib cage. So Maggie, grab behind your bottom with both hands, one hand on each side. Draw your chin onto your chest and pull yourself up into sitting. Okay, we have just an ordinary kiddies soccer ball available at any supermarket. And we want to learn how to strengthen between the rib and the hip, so that when we start to exercise, we've already started to strengthen here and we don't overstrain the neck. So the ball goes pretty much at the bra strap to lie down. She's going to put her hands one by one behind her head at the base of the skull. Now she's going to try and get her lower back onto the mat. Okay? So not too much, not tucking, just tensing. Now drop your head backwards to look up at the ceiling. And I might need to change where this ball is, we'll just see. Keep your gaze on the ceiling, because I don't want this to be a neck exercise. I don't want there to be any pulling of the neck to bring you up. The rib cage is what does the work. Let's check. We're going to test this because I think it might need to come a little bit further forward. Close, deepening between your rib cage, and see how high you can come with that ball. Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. And release yourself back down again. How's that? Makes the ball feel like it's in the right place? Yeah. These exercises are known as rumble bumps. That's not the official name, but if you're not rumbling like you're going over the rumble bumps in the road, you are not doing it correctly. And the chances are that you are probably not keeping your gaze at the ceiling and drawing it back. You are. If you don't get the rumble bumps, maybe do a bad one, just come up with your head first. Okay, that's the tendency. And then you feel nothing. So you want to make sure that the deepening is here in the rib cage. Again, up, deep in the ribs, 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 and release it back down. Now Megan, of course, obviously is an advanced Pilates practitioner. So she's not rumble bumping as much as Joe Average would. But she is still rumble bumping. Okay. and draw it back down again. So you want to do about 10 of these. Up and down. And what you're doing here on the last one, Maggie, keep going while I talk. Just hold it on the last one. What you're doing here is that you're strengthening the rib between the rib cage to get yourself up without using your necks, because the tendency a lot in Pilates is that people start to complain that their necks are sore. How many have you done?
I don't know.
Okay, let's just do 3 more. Remember, head stays at the ceiling, at the ceiling, at the ceiling, and engage the ribs. It's this that pulls you forward. Nothing else. Now stay up on your last one, and then I want you to bounce. Deepen, deepen, deepen. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Rest back. There's another version of this which is really good. I want you to come up as high as you can come up, deepening into the rib cage. Make sure that your hips stay stationary, and then rotate towards, rotate, pull on that ball, and come back to center. Rest it. So it comes up first. Rotate. Pull, 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 pull. Practicing getting that elbow back for that crisscross. And then relax. Again, we're just going to do 3 each side, come up. Elbows are wide. Making sure, again, that one leg doesn't shorten. The movement needs to be very definitely in the rib cage. Head doesn't pull. Was that 3?
That was 2 each side.
Okay, finish up 1 more each side. Lift. Now lift, roll that ball backwards. Good. So you want that ball moving. Rib cage, not head. And roll that ball, roll that ball, roll that ball, roll that ball. And rest yourself back down to your mats. Good. Turn to face the cameras, please, baby. And I want your legs at 90 degrees, coming straight out of your hips. And your knees bend so that your knee to ankle is also 90 degrees. So 90 degree angle here, a 90 degree angle here. Back is up against the back of the mat. Hand can just go behind to cup your head. Other arm goes long and in front. Okay? So keep all of this 90 degrees, 90 degrees. Rather err on the side of caution and bring the legs a little higher than take them down, because this can cause excess pressure onto the lower back. So 90 degrees out straight in front, or a little bit higher if you need to, but that's a good position. Now your bottom waistline needs to lift off the mat so that your spine stays straight. So we're going to take that top arm to the ceiling, look up at your hand, take your gaze with you, and as you take it over, breathe out and rotate the rib cage. Make sure the hips stay stacked on top of each other. Inhale to take it back up to the ceiling, and exhale to place it back down again. Keep your shoulders stacked. The tendency here is that people throw that shoulder forward when they're coming back to stacked up position. So you want to make sure that it stays stacked, stays stacked. Inhale, arm up to the ceiling. Now you're allowed to move the rib cage, taking the arms with you. Inhale the arm to the ceiling, and exhale, shoulder stays stacked as you replace it. Inhale, arm up to the ceiling. Exhale to rotate that rib. Make sure that you can feel the obliques working around and round and round and round and round. Take note, her knees are not separating. And return it to the mat. Turn onto the other side. Okay, so we've lined her back up against the back of the mat. Just a little bit more, put her into the mat. Her knees are directly out in front of her hips, and her legs, her knee to ankle is also at 90 degrees. We're going to remember to keep those top legs stacked. When you roll over, you don't want the top leg moving backwards. It needs to stay super glued. So inhale the top arm to the ceiling. As you exhale, make sure the hips don't move, super glued, and take your gaze out and over. Inhale the arm to the ceiling. Keep the shoulders stacked on top of each other as you replace the arm. Inhale the arm to the ceiling. Exhale and move. Top leg slides longer than the bottom leg. Inhale up to the ceiling. And exhale, release it. Last one. Inhale, super glue the knees. Exhale and rotate. Inhale, arms to the ceiling. And exhale, replace it back down to your mat. Very nice. Let's go on to all fours and look at mobilizing that spine. You want to have your hands directly underneath your shoulders and your knees directly underneath your hips. We're going to take a little bit of time here to explain what I mean when I cue you pinky moons. Give me one of your hands, please, Megzi. So this fat pad here, where the pinky finger goes, is called your pinky moon. So we want to make sure that the weight stays on the pinky moon. And the best way to achieve it is to make the index finger and the thumb lift up a little bit, like the instep of your foot. So your hand here is mirroring your foot. And you want to slightly toe in the fingers towards each other a little bit. And from here, swirl the elbows backwards. You should feel that the connection into the back comes on instantly. There's a nerve there called the ulnar nerve. What this does is it opens out the wrists nicely and it engages the shoulder blades to be working. So I will cue that as pinky moons. Engage your pinky moons. Okay, so keeping your pinky moons on, staying in a nice long straight line. The first thing I want you to do is pull your belly button onto your spine. Good. Now tuck your tailbone underneath you and then articulate up one vertebra at a time until you are looking deeply into your stomach. Keep your head down and release from your bottom first. So use your lower belly muscles to release yourself down, shoulders down your back, and rest. Do not collapse. Show me what a collapse would look like. Do not collapse your lower back. Come back up again, Miggy. So maintaining your rib to hip connection. Again, belly button starts first. Tuck your tailbone underneath. Roll up, roll up, roll up, roll up, roll up, and look deeply into your belly button. Keep your head still. Keep your rib to hip connection and lift your bottom back up to the ceiling. Rolling one vertebra at a time, your head comes to line up with the rest of you. Last one, pinky moon swirling. Belly button in. Roll it up from the base of the spine and look deeply into your belly. Keep pushing into your hands and looking deeply into your belly, getting a beautiful curve, and then release from the tailbone first. Sequentially articulate and rest. Good. Let's turn you onto your back again. Now, for a lot of people, especially people with desk jobs, the bottom has stopped working. That exercise will be quite difficult to articulate the lower belly and the bottom under. Keep practicing because, again, those come in and are very important, that ability to fire the bottom. Bring your heels a little closer to your bottom, Maisie. A rule of thumb for most people's proportions, if they can touch the back of their heels with their fingertips, it's about right. What's not right is that if those heels come in, obviously people have got different length arms and different length knees. If that knee is pushing over like that, that is a very dangerous position to be in. So you do not want to be there. You want to try and keep as close as possible so that when we roll up, we want to work with the bottom and not the hamstring. The minute the feet come forward a bit, maybe bring this foot a little bit further forward. If her feet are in that position, so not directly under the knees, her hamstrings are going to pull her up through this exercise. So it is important that she draws her feet back to a comfortable position that doesn't injure her knees. Okay? Does that feel about right, Mexi?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to sequentially articulate to get your tailbone off the mat. Start by pulling your belly button down and rolling it up under your ribs. Now, push your heels into the mat, squash your teepees, squeeze your sitting bones together, and roll your bottom off the mat one vertebra at a time. Keep the ribcage down on the mat as long as possible, and then come up into a long line. You want to be knee, hip, shoulder line. I'm going to show you what it looks like to do it incorrectly. People tend to do this. Okay? Come back down, Mickey. So remember, the rib to hip connection is really important here. If you've lost the rib to hip connection, you're going to overdo it. Now, starting at the ribs, close the rib cage down. And keep squeezing the bottom so that you can feel the delicious stretch into the lower back. Did you feel that?
Yeah.
Again, pull your belly button in, push into your heels, squeeze your bottom, push into your hands, close your rib cage, and roll yourself off one vertebra at a time. Do not lose rib to hip. Hold it at the top there, squeezing your bottom. Again, push into your feet to keep your bottom, and roll down from your rib cage first to release. Now the other thing, I mean, maybe obviously doesn't make anything look bad, but the tendency might be to round your upper back as you close your rib cage. Just keep fighting with a smile in your collarbone. Close up that rib cage and push up. Now let's consider the smile in the collarbone. Close the rib, Megs? Yes. Now roll your spine down, fighting with a smile in the collarbone as you go. And rest. Good. Okay, let's look at releasing the hip so that when we do our single leg circles that we have an understanding of where the movement comes from. Again, this exercise might take a little bit of time to understand it. I will cue one bone as Romeo and the other bone as Juliet, and you want to have the tension of these two bones trying to get towards each other. I call them Romeo and Juliet because they never can get to each other, but they keep trying. So have the tension of these two bones pulling towards each other, shortening out the space between those two bones. You feel it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now the one leg stays absolutely still on the mat, and we're going to work with the other leg. The first thing I want you to do is release the leg with control to the side, counterbalancing with the opposite hip. Good. And draw it back up again. And we're just going to practice that a few times, making sure if you need to, you can put your other hand onto this hip so that it doesn't fall out to the side. And 3, and hold on the third one. Now try and hold on the third one. Try and straighten the leg down the mat and hold it there. So if you look at Megan, her outside of her foot is on the mat, 100% right. Now I want her to rotate so that the inside of her foot is on the mat. And she's going to drag that turned in knee up. And again, open the leg out to the side with control. Stretch the outside of the foot along the mat, rotate it inwards and draw the inside of the foot up. And again, down. Can you feel that, Maggie?
Yeah.
Rotate it inwards and draw it up. Beautifully done. Change direction. It's inwards first and down, out to the side. Now deepen through the belly button and drag the outside of the foot up, 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 up. And again, toe in. Yeah. So stop there, Maggie. You want to have the heel out and the toe in on this one as you come down, so that you really are rotating inwards in that socket. Can you feel it? And then this one is an external. Again, if she engages her glute and maintains her turnout muscles to pull that leg out, it might feel slightly different. Again, toe comes in, heel goes out, and down it goes. And she concentrates on her turnout muscles, pulling her out. Okay. How's that? Keep that foot relaxed. Change, let's do the other leg. Out and in 3 times, counterbalancing with the opposite hip. Last one goes out. Now hold it out there. Push the outside of the foot down the mat. Rotate, internally rotating the leg at the hip socket, and drag it up. Again, down, and reach it long. Draw it in. And last one down. Reach it long, and draw it in. Changing direction, toe in and heel out. Making sure that it's not just the foot that's moved in, it's got to come all the way from the top of the hip socket. Again, down. And remember, you're pulling up with the turnout muscle. So try and keep your knee as wide as possible as you pull out. And last one, toe in, heel out, push down. Turn the foot to the side and squeeze the bottom to pull it back up again. Felt that?
Yeah.
And rest. So that brings our pre-pilates exercises to an end. Roll up, Maggie. Thank you. If you need any of these exercises, if any of them were difficult, repeat them until they're no longer difficult. The only one that will probably remain difficult is the ball exercises, which are just lovely to do anyway.